Okay, wonderful. Thank you, ladies, for joining. We are dedicating our learning to the Refuah Shlemah of Miriam bat Yehudit, Saul bat Ruth, Karen Chana bas Esther, Eitan Noam ben Orit, and let me see if there were a few more names. Hadassah bat Sarah, Menucha Avigail bas Chana, bat Chava Chaya, and Naomi bas Rachel, and Rachel bas Sarah. If you have a name, please have it in mind, and it will be for their refuah as well. So we are delighted. We are going through a second round of the beautiful Sefer that Rabbi Mendel Kessin wrote, The True Power of Speech, the Key to Both Worlds. And we are up to the wonderful still beginning of the Sefer, and here we go. Now we see that there are two approaches. There's Musar versus Hashkafa. So these are two approaches to Shemirat HaLashon. The Musar approach is one in which I can exhort you, tell you not to do this and not to do that. I'm not going to take that approach for several reasons. Mainly, everybody knows that there's a mitzvah of Shemiras HaLashon. And he gives us the sources of where we learn about Shemirat HaLashon. It's even in Vayikra 19, chapter 19, verse 16. The Rambam also brings it down in Sefer HaMitzvot, one of the negative commandments, 301. And the Rambam talks about this as well in Hilchos Deos, chapter 7, verses 1 and 2. The approach that the rabbi will take is that of the Hashkafa. What is that? I won't tell you what to do. Instead, I will explain the internal mechanism of such speech, the pnimius, if you will. What happens in reality when you speak Lashon Hara, and how such behaviors interface with the internal design of creation. Once you understand the mechanism, you can make your own decision whether or not you wish to engage in Lashon Hara. Once you understand the significance of the act, you can ask yourself if you want to engage in it or desist. It's up to you. I find this approach to be much greater, far more powerful in its ability to convince people to at least think about and be more cognizant of Lashon Hara. In my attempt to explain these ideas, I'm going to provide a comprehensive framework. And through that, not only will you understand Lashon Hara, but you will also comprehend Chazal's statements concerning this topic and how their statements show the tremendous effect of Lashon Hara that Lashon Hara has on creation. So this next section is defining Lashon Hara. Before I continue, we need to make sure that everyone understands what is Lashon Hara. We need to have a common terminology and agree on these concepts. I don't want to speak about one thing and in your mind you have a different idea of what I'm talking about or what I mean. So here we go. The first thing we need is a definition. How can we define Lashon Hara? Precisely and concisely, it is any communication that can cause damage to another individual, that generates any kind of injury or harm to another individual. In order to be defined as such, it has to be a communication which itself must be able to cause damage. If that's the case, something begins to dawn on us. The idea of Lashon Hara emerges from what's called a superstructure of hezek. Hezek meaning damage. If someone causes damage to another person, he is a mazik, one who causes damage. A person can cause damage in a number of ways, and he can use several instruments of hezek, damage, to do so. Okay, so I think I will just name the 3 damage devices, and we will end that section, and tomorrow continue with a greater explanations. So here we go. The 3 damage devices are: one of these instruments of hezek is to the goof, the body. If you beat someone up, chas v'shalom, or murder them, chas v'shalom, that's causing damage begufo, to one's body, to their body. Another instrument is called mamono, which means his property. The classic idea brought down in the Torah is when my cow gores your cow. Other examples of the concept of mamono, property damage, would be if my dog bites someone else, or if I dig a pit and someone falls into it, or if my sheep eats from someone else's field. And the third instrument to employ damage is leshono, which literally means one's tongue or one's conversation. An individual can create damage in these 3 ways. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to continue in our Sefer, live the blessing, in order to see how can we actualize maintaining Shemirat HaLashon, because we always want to get practical. Rabbi Mendel Kessin is not giving us the halachot in his Sefer. He's giving us a much deeper understanding of the structure and power of speech. But now we are up to day 24 in this beautiful Sefer. Let's see if it'll show. Live the Blessing, which is a Sefer that is written by the Chafetz Chaim Heritage Foundation and gives us beautiful examples. So day 24 talks about perfectionism, the problem with perfect. He demands perfection. Is that a compliment or a criticism? For some people, it's high praise. They are happy to be known as someone who strives relentlessly to reach the highest standards and drives others to do so as well. Yet such a person is chasing an illusion, and in the process is driving peace from his heart and his relationships. When someone demands perfection, he doesn't recognize the value of something or someone that is merely good. He zeroes in on what's missing and feels the need to criticize it. The target of his criticism feels devalued rather than appreciated, scrutinized rather than liked or loved. But the atmosphere isn't any sunnier inside the perfectionist's heart. He suffers from his own relentless scrutiny, never enjoying the happy sigh of contentment from a day well lived and a job well done. Sadly, the perfectionist is searching for something that is not even a part of Hashem's creation. Only Hashem is free of flaws and mistakes. For us human beings, He created Tachanun, our twice daily tefillah, asking for His forgiveness. He created Yom Kippur, our yearly opportunity to wipe clean our souls. He created Teshuvah and forgiveness, the miraculous entities that allow us to learn from our mistakes, repair our relationships, and restore our connection to Hashem. Rabbi Dr. Abraham Twersky points out that all of this proves that falling and rising again are an integral part of our lives. Perfectionism, he says, is doomed from the start. Why destroy our peace trying to achieve it? Okay, now let's see how we can practice this, how this wisdom can come into action. So they're telling us a story here. Naomi Tob and her 4 children had been busy for the past 3 hours getting their living room ready for the big parlor meeting to take place that night in their home. Her husband, Yitzi, was excited to be hosting his Rosh Yeshiva along with the Rabbeim and prominent businessmen that were associated with his old yeshiva. In fact, when he built his large and luxurious new house, he told his wife, "Imagine all the tzedakah events we can have here." Yitzi arrived home from work a few hours early to make sure everything would be ready for the big event. He scanned the room with precision of an MRI as his family watched nervously. The chairs, which his 2 sons had dragged from the basement and set up in neat rows, perturbed him. He began nervously realigning them as he continued to look around. "The guests will be here in 20 minutes, he called out to no one in particular. "Where are the hot hors d'oeuvres? Where are the drinks?" Naomi and the girls were putting the finishing touches on a beautiful table filled with mouth-watering cakes and gourmet cookies, all carefully selected from the town's most exclusive bakery. "The hors d'oeuvres need a few more minutes in the oven," Naomi said. "The drinks can stay cold until the people came." "Doesn't anyone but me care about this? It's my Rosh Yeshiva and all my big shot classmates coming here," he said in a voice thick with tension. "Do you want me to look ridiculous?" "No one comes right on time, Yitzi," his wife said, trying to diffuse his tension. "Everything will be fine. It's supposed to be a nice, relaxing evening." But Yitzi couldn't relax. His children couldn't feel good about the job they had done. His wife couldn't detect the gratitude that somewhere inside Yitzi was truly there. The guests arrived, the evening went smoothly, and still, when it was all over and the family was helping to clean up, Yitzi made an accounting of every flaw his hawk eyes observed in the course of the evening. Working together on a big project could have provided an exhilarating bonding experience for the Taub family. Instead, a beautiful evening that won tremendous accolades from the guests ended for Yitzi with a pounding headache and a resentful wife and children. Boy, that's one way of not doing things. Okay, ladies, let's discuss what we can extrapolate from the 2 lessons that we have shared this evening. Would someone like to speak first? And I want to add that all our learning will be as well for the Refuah Shlemah of Zecharia Avraham ben Batya Freydel and anyone else who needs a Refuah Shlemah. What can you tell me? Okay, Liz, first to go.
Well, what was so amazing is that we're actually hosting a Rev tonight here at my home. So the Hashkafa is always strong with us. And perfectionism is a very, very big, I think, category of almost avoda zara,
Yes,
and a lot of din energy that's misguided. It's like, a holier than thou. I need it this way. It has to be like this exactly, Dafka. And I think sometimes, we could very much be blindsided by our perfectionistic tendencies and use, maybe Frumkeit in that way. And
definitely.
yeah,
So important.
it hits. It really hits. It's a very interesting concept to just
So
let
interesting.
go of perfectionism and also just the
Absolutely.
working ourselves up whenever, we're hosting or whatever we're doing as
That's
women. Just
right.
very simply, it definitely resonates.
It's so true. And you know what I was thinking as well? I love everything that you shared, Liz. Thank you. That we have to always be mindful of our relationships. You see, if you want to be a perfectionist about something that you're going to do, go ahead, knock yourself out. Not that it's really going to matter. What's going to matter is your attitude, your composure, your smiling face, your demeanor. How are you going to treat everybody? That's going to be much more important than how perfect or how clean or how amazing or how soldier like was everything put out. No, nobody cares about that. People care about the good energy. People care about your smiling face. People care about the warmth that's going to exude from your heart and your eyes. Much more than is the house impeccable? Is like, are the desserts placed just right? Like exactly 1 inch apart? Nobody cares about that. And don't let yourself be boggled down with those details in with the oh, I lost my word, but what I want to say is with the cost of hurting your loved ones or your friends or your committee member just to satisfy your obsession with perfectionism, right? We see that all too often. And yeah, so this is how we can keep the peace. If we
It's
keep,
also, I think, sometimes on a very basic level, with, when for me personally, becoming more observant, you know, knowing that it's I think there's a concept called the perfect zero.
yes,
And when you just hold yourself so tightly, and you just hit on something, your energy, your smile, anytime you're not besimcha, I think there's a code in Ivdu et Hashem besimcha. It's such a
exactly,
powerful
exactly,
message that, especially Breslov Hasidus brings this forth, how
100%.
important it is to be besimcha and how we rob ourselves of simcha. And
Absolutely. So that's why it's so fitting to be, if you're going to be simcha, you can't hold simcha and perfectionism and scrutiny and criticism at the same time.
right. And how
Right?
does this relate to Lashon Hara? I think it perfectly
Ooh, yes,
goes
'cause
into that.
you're hurting the other person. They
Right.
said it so nicely at the end. The kids put so much effort. They wanted to participate in this mitzvah of, of having a tzedakah event in their home. And instead of feeling good about their participation, they felt bad. They felt like unappreciated. That's not what we want. And so that hurts the other person. That's a damage. And even speaking harshly to your children and to your wife is Lashon Hara, right? Because we didn't use the right words. Debbie, would you like to share something?
Oh, um, Debbie, that's me. Okay. I didn't can you hear me?
Yes, of course, you were
Oh, I
unmuted. So
thought I was
I thought
muted.
I thought you had
I
something to say. So go ahead.
I would just like to say how much I appreciate you and how I appreciate the reminder to say Ana Bakoach. I never said Ana Bakoach so much. I never really said Ana Bakoach at all.
Wow.
I didn't even realize what a power Ana Bakoach was. And the same thing with a lot of the different Tehillims and the
Yes.
different. I never realized the tremendous the power of all of them, of Tikkun Klali, of Mizmar LeTodah,
So happy.
of the 1313. I never
Yes,
realized,
yes. I
and
love it that you're mentioning this, and I'll tell you what I see as a beautiful connect. Okay? When Rav Kessin is teaching us about the power of speech and what is speech really meant to be, and why did God endow Adam Arishon with the power of speech? And it is precisely because speech is so powerful. Tefillah is the proper speech. Limud Torah is the proper speech. And the koach, the power that it has. So when you said, I never used to say these tefillah, I never realized there was a tefillah of Ana B'koach. We were all there. We were all there once. We would see it written in our siddur, but we would never say it. It would be one of those tefillos we would just skip over because it wasn't something that we learned or was prioritized for women to say. Now that we have learned, thanks to Liz, exposing us, I know exposing me, right at the very beginning of COVID, about the power of Ana B'Koach, it's just like you said. I didn't realize it. And every time I said it, I felt good. I felt empowered. I felt connected. And I saw things shift in my life. Just like lots of the women could attest, those who have been saying Ana B'Koach with us for so long. And this is so powerful and so encouraging that that's why we keep doing it. And the more we learn, and we learned more about it, and we learned the words, and we realize that God put everything out there for us, and He wants us to yearn, to understand, and to have a greater relationship with Him. And He gave us tools to bring down more blessings. And that's why we do all the tefillot that we do. And I'm so happy that you mentioned that. It wasn't part of the lesson, but it is the overarching reason why we're doing everything that what we're doing. And let's see, there's a lovely comment. Yes, exactly. So Liz says that, of course, we know that en od milvado, it's only Hashem. It's everything is Hashem. And it's like this reverse engineering of Lashon HaKodesh at the highest level is actually our tefillah. And remember, we talked about Rav Kessin later in the book, but because we're running through it for the second time, we could mention it again. He talks to us about how the sfirot manifests in the body and as well in the face. And he talks about how the mouth and the tongue represent Malchus and Yesod. So the tongue is Yesod, and Yesod is where we have to correct to keep that connection between Yesod and Malchut in order to bring down the most amount of blessings. That's how we get the Shefa. And interestingly enough, Malchut is related to David HaMelech. And David gave us the Sefer Tehillim, which are all the tefillot that we are meant to sing and pray, thereby creating that beautiful vessel to receive more shefa and more brachot. And that is the power of the Lashon. And that's what we want to prioritize. We want to prioritize Lashon HaKodesh, and we want to minimize and desist from Lashon Hara, both speaking it or listening to it, because Rav Kessin teaches us, even if you just listen to Lashon Hara, you could be dragged into the heavenly court, and your books are open and you're scrutinized. They will look at every sin, and that's not good for any of us, because nobody is perfect. We all make mistakes. That's part of the human condition. So thank you, Debbie, for your beautiful comments, because you segued us to review our overarching mission here as we come together every weeknight at 5:06 to really tap into and just grab that opening, that stargate opening of the koach of saying the tefillah Ana B'Koach. Great. Does anybody else want to share anything or comment before we go? Great. So today our lesson was jam-packed, but powerful. Good. Thank you, ladies. And I'll see you tomorrow, Bli Neder.
Thank you.
We'll open up at 5 and we'll end promptly at 5:45 or earlier so that we don't take too much time away from your avoda with your families. Thank you again. Kol Tuv. See you tomorrow.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Vicky.
Thank
See you
Thank
you.
you.
tomorrow.
Thank you,
Thank
Liz.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank
See you
you.
tomorrow.